Welcome to This Explainer. We're diving straight into something we all experience every single day, usually multiple times a day, right? Hunger. But we rarely stop to think about how it actually works. Let's demystify exactly what's going on inside your body when you start craving that next meal. Why do you feel hungry just a few hours after eating? We've all been there, haven't we? You have a massive lunch, you feel totally stuffed, and yet, by 3 p.m., you're literally raiding the pantry. So is hunger just the physical sensation of an empty stomach, or is there a much more complex scientific process happening behind the scenes? Spoiler alert, it's incredibly complex. To really understand this, we need to go back to the very beginning, the spark of hunger. Hunger doesn't actually start with your stomach complaining. Fundamentally, it kicks off with energy depletion. Your body is this incredibly efficient machine, and just like any machine, it constantly monitors its internal fuel gauge to make sure everything keeps running smoothly. So when you eat, your digestive system gets right to work. First, your food is digested and broken down into basic nutrients. Then, crucial components, things like glucose, proteins, and fats, are meticulously extracted from that meal. Finally, these nutrients are delivered straight through your bloodstream to provide energy to your body's cells. Basically, this is your body stocking up the warehouse, making absolutely sure you have the power to think, move, and, well, breathe. But inevitably, as energy drops, the body asks for fuel. Over the next few hours, as your cells happily gobble up that freshly delivered supply of glucose and fat, your internal energy reserves start to dip. That internal fuel gauge starts flashing low, and your body realizes, okay, it's time to prepare to ask for a refill. But how exactly does it ask for that refill? I mean, it doesn't just tap you on the shoulder, right? It actually uses a highly sophisticated chemical messaging system. It's time to meet the hunger hormone. Think of this as your body's biological SOS signal, letting your brain know that the fuel tanks are running on empty and it's time to take action. Enter the star of our show, ghrelin. Ghrelin is a hormone released directly by your stomach, and it's widely known in the medical community as the literal hunger hormone. What I find so fascinating about this is that the message originates right at the site of the emptiness, your stomach, but that's not actually where the feeling of hunger is processed. Let's actually track its journey through your body, because it's super cool. First, as the energy tank empties, the stomach releases ghrelin. Next, this hormone acts like a chemical messenger, hopping right onto the busy highway of your bloodstream. It travels all the way up from your digestive system, navigating straight up to your head. And finally, the signal reaches its ultimate destination, a very specific, very powerful region of the brain called the hypothalamus. This brings us to the true control center of this whole operation, the hypothalamus. This is the exact part of your brain that controls hunger and appetite. The precise moment your hypothalamus receives that ghrelin signal from your stomach, that is the exact moment you consciously begin to think, wow, I could really go for a snack right now. So hunger is actually realized in your brain, not just your belly. But wait, what about the belly? Let's pivot for a second to decoding the stomach growl. Because even if hunger is processed up in your brain, the most noticeable, relatable, and, let's be honest, sometimes embarrassing physical symptom of an empty stomach is that loud rumble. You know the one, it always seems to happen during a dead quiet meeting or a test. Believe it or not, there's a complex medical term for that simple growl, borborygmi. It's a fantastic word, right? Borborygmi refers to the completely normal sounds caused by the muscles in your stomach and intestines contracting. Even when they're totally empty of food, they keep contracting to sweep air and leftover digestive fluids through your tract. So that growl isn't a monster in your stomach, it's literally just your digestive plumbing doing some routine house cleaning while it waits for its next meal. Okay, so the ghrelin alarm is ringing, your stomach is giving off some loud borborygmi, and you finally sit down to grab something to eat. What happens next? Well, let's shift to the resolution phase of our explainer, the signals of satiety. Satiety is really just the fancy scientific word for feeling full. Let's look at exactly how your body flips that switch from hungry to satisfied. Once you start eating, this beautifully synchronized combination of physical and chemical events kicks off. First, your stomach physically stretches to accommodate the food, and tiny mechanical sensors actually feel this stretch. Second, as digestion begins again, fresh nutrients enter the bloodstream. And third, these actions trigger the release of a whole new set of hormones that send new signals right back up to your brain. So it's a bit of a tug of war. On one side, we have our start eating signal. That's ghrelin, our hunger hormone alarm clock. But on the flip side, we have the stop eating signals, leptin and insulin. As nutrients hit your bloodstream, these hormones rise up and race to the hypothalamus to counter the ghrelin.
They're essentially telling your brain, message received, fuel acquired, you can turn off the alarm now.
The satisfying result of this whole hormonal shift? Hunger just disappears. You feel full and satisfied. The ghrelin levels drop, the leptin and insulin levels rise, the stomach growling totally quiets down, and your brain finally stops obsessing over what's in the fridge. The biological loop is successfully closed. Well, at least until your fuel drops again in a few hours. Let's bring all these distinct elements together for our grand finale. When we look at hunger this way, it truly is your complex biological symphony. Every single part of your body has a specific instrument to play, and they must all play in perfect time to keep you functioning optimally. Think about how perfectly it all comes together. Your stomach acts as the physical sensor, releasing ghrelin, growling, and stretching. Your brain, specifically the hypothalamus, acts as the conductor, receiving and interpreting those signals. Your hormones, ghrelin, leptin, insulin, well, they're the chemical messengers carrying the sheet music. And your energy levels derived from the nutrients in your food dictate the tempo of the entire piece. So the absolute crucial takeaway here is that hunger is so much more than just an empty feeling in your gut. It's a highly coordinated network keeping you energized, healthy, and alive. Which brings us to our final thought for today's explainer. Next time your stomach growls, will you listen to the biological symphony? Instead of just being annoyed by a grumbling belly, I really hope you walk away from this with a newfound appreciation for the incredible, unseen internal communications happening inside of you every single day. Thanks so much for joining me to explore this fascinating science. Keep asking questions, keep looking at the data, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.